Recording. All right, I think we're good. Hello, everybody. Thanks for jumping on this webinar. My name is Audrey Gunther. I'm the Assistant AD of Marketing and Promotions at Providence College, and I'm joined with Leo and Gianna. Leo or Gianna, one of you guys want to go first and introduce yourself?
Ladies first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gianna Sarkis. I'm the Brand Advancement Manager for University Arenas at Rochester Institute of Technology.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leo Pare. I'm the Executive Director for Community Engagement Video Production at Boston University.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So we're excited to, get into some of our best practices with branding and just some stuff that we've done throughout our years to help improve all of our university's brandings, and then just also, some stuff that we've kind of learned throughout the way. So Gianna, if you want to kind of kick it off with talking about your brand guidelines and how, you guys kind of put together a really awesome, really not simplistic, but really easy to follow brand guide for all of your schools.
Yeah, so before I get into that, I want to talk about some best practices for your brand guides. RET does a really good job of laying everything out. I can pull that up to show everyone.
Let me know if you need me to reshare it, but I think everybody should have access.
No, it's the new computer. And it's gonna make me quit.
The whole
be able to... Yeah.
Okay. I can go back into it. I think it'll stop the recording in 2 parts too, so we'll still have like the intro.
I have to leave meeting and jump right back in.
Oh, that works too.
That's a good start.
That's why I asked if they edited it. It's all good.
Audrey, I'd say if we're gonna edit this part too, just have her back in the same window placement.
Oh, good call. Hello, welcome back.
Hello. Okay. So here we go. Great. It's not letting me choose Google Chrome. That's weird. Can you see? There we go. Let's try this again. Okay. So here we go. So I can show RIT's brand guide. RIT does a great way of laying out for the whole university their overview, strategy, elements, and toolkit. When you're building your own brand guide, you really want to research your brand beforehand, know who your target audience is, what people recognize from your brand currently, and then you can go into creating your own identity, brand message, so on and so forth, with your logos, color palette, typography, other imagery, and then creating your voice and tone, how you want to show be shown across all social media platforms, print, and any other messaging. We have a pretty consistent tone, I would say, in my opinion, between our RIT mothership account, as we like to call it, and our little branch facets account. So the tone I create for the RIT Arena's social media matches what RIT Athletics says, along with what the mothership says as well. And it creates a really good cohesive brand across from university level to the other departments. So they created this brand portal back in 2018. And when I was hired at the school, I thought it was great for me to grab any logos I needed and learn about the voice and tone. So within the brand identity, the brand portal, you can find our audiences, learn about the brand essence as a whole, which I like to say. And now it's gonna make me log in. So you can learn about what the personality is at the school and how to implement that within your own brand identity within your department. My favorite part about this brand portal is our toolkit. You can grab everything from stock photography to icons to add onto your website, which I do all the time now. Everything from Zoom backgrounds to logos. And this is where it becomes really important. We have our master brand logos for the university as a whole. And then if you click on this, you go down to our athletics logos. And to have access to these, you need to be approved by the university. So not just anyone can have them, which I think is really important so that brand identity doesn't get convoluted across platforms. So there's a lot of old logos floating around currently, but we also have spirit marks, which are used on the campus as a whole compared to just athletic logos. So these go for like the tiger paw we paint on a hill in front of our field house before commencement weekend. So everyone knows the tiger paw will be out there with the traditional RIT master brand logo as well. Another great thing about our toolkit that I think a lot of people wouldn't think of is email signatures. And here it generates an email signature for you to match everyone on the university. So when you send an email, it will match whoever has it as well. And you just copy and paste it into your Outlook, which I think is absolutely awesome. And then you can also go into general writing tips on how to convey the right voice and tone in your print and digital media too. It's just a great day to like dive in and really learn about your brand.
That's
And
great,
then,
Gianna.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I said that's great. I was gonna be curious. What does it look like for obviously you're well versed in this, and that's part of your position. What does it look like for like a new staff member? Are they kind of brought through this whole process, and so they understand it as well?
Yes. So typically you are given a marketing delegate on campus and they give you all the information when you are hired, and you connect with them, have coffee. When I was hired, I connected with my 2 marketing delegates on campus within our former department we were under, and they gave me access to the brand portal, explained everything to me, and basically gave me homework to really like study up on it. And then I got to was able to meet with the VP of marketing on campus as well, and his key people that work underneath him to learn about who I could contact on campus to edit my website, to teach me how to basically who runs the social media on campus, who those contacts were. And a new feature of this that is this licensing tab, and we are experiencing an uptick in making sure all our promotional products, especially in my department, are coming from licensed vendors that have the right to print our logo. So if they don't have the right to print our logo, I cannot use that vendor. So we have an approved vendor portal to find promotional vendors to buy our giveaway items from, like t-shirts and backpacks, so on and so forth. And that is something I had to sit down at the beginning of the year and learn all about too. So it's always changing. There's always new things added to the portal. It's open to everyone, so anyone can search ret.edu/brand portal. But if you do not have RIT credentials, you cannot log in and download certain logos. You would have to contact our branding team, and they would deem if it was necessary if you needed that.
I love the security behind it just because I feel like it twofold. It protects your sponsors who are paying for the rights to use, your marks, but it also protects you guys as an institution just so anybody that you wouldn't want to associate with doesn't, go rogue and decide to
Yeah.
affiliate themselves with your brand.
Yeah, so a great example is if you go to the local Walmart, about 5 minutes from campus, they have all of our old sports and spirit marks printed on t-shirts that are no longer in use, and they're selling them for a profit. So by having this new licensing and trademark thing portal, it allows us to see how we can get, if we find a new vendor that has fair pricing, how we can get them approved and get them licensed to use our marks, and then other people on campus can use them in the future too. But it's just funny when you go 5 minutes down the road and you see Walmart with the wrong marks and you're like, oh no, that's not our brand. And they're still profiting off of it while we are not profiting, nor wouldn't know what was going on if we didn't walk into the store.
It is frustrating. We have a lot of local businesses that love to say that they're the home for the Friars, like pre or post game, and we're like, no, you're not.
Yeah, there's some local businesses that do that as well. And it's like I said, this portal started back in 2018 with just trying to create a cohesive brand across the campus, from, like, for example, the College of Science to my department, University Arenas, to athletics. And now it's becoming more than that, and it's honestly becoming better and better. And if you have a question, you can reach out to a specific person that is like I would say the king or queen of marketing and branding, and they know, like, they'll have the answer for you, which is really great. We do have a head of branding on campus who, anytime I have a question, if a logo doesn't look right or if I'm using the right vendor, I just shoot them a quick email and they respond right away with, yep, that verbiage looks right, that's the right tone, that's the right colors. And that's a big thing I noticed with printing is sometimes people got the orange wrong, and who would have thought you could have the wrong shade of orange. So our portal decided to create a color palette that has the primary and secondary palette, and it gives us all our color codes for what we need to use. And we need to send it to print, it gives us all of exactly for digital, for print, and for just traditional graphics. And then we also have a secondary palette. And then lastly, we have an accent palette. So these are just crazy colors that's university approved that you can use in all your branding.
Oh, that's great.
And there is a rule of thumb too, so you can see how much of each color you should use within all your marketing material, which I think is really awesome.
That is awesome. It seems like you guys really thought of like every possible thing that you could brand or any possible marketing question that you could have and really put together an awesome document.
Yeah, our marketing communications department on campus is great when it comes to this. And I feel like every time a new question arises, they take the opportunity to really go through and add something onto the brand portal that wasn't there before. This toolkit in the past 4 to 5 years has grown to add more options, like the stock photography. Lawn signs were added in 2020 for when students were graduating during COVID, and they've kept them up since, for people to, and like Zoom backgrounds were added, I think back in 2020 when that Zoom became more important to the workplace. So there's a lot of additional resources to use. And another cool one I forgot about is the borrow a banner. You can click on this tab and sign out a banner to use for any like marketing initiatives you have happening on campus. So you can get a step and repeat or a pull up banner, and then just put in your name and email and you can schedule to use one, which I think is pretty cool. And it's consistent with branding on campus.
That's awesome.
So, as they like to say, we're always on to something amazing at RIT, and for our branding is the exceptional.
That's awesome. I'm very envious of your brand portal just because it has everything and it's so easy to navigate and download, like just being able to download all of those logos.
Yeah. When we were redoing our website for University Arenas, I wanted to make it as easy to navigate as the brand portal was. And I really kept referencing this back to all my web development meetings. Can we do this? Can we do that? Have this drop down menu, this, and they're like, yes. And which is great is if you go anywhere on campus, all of our websites are mirror each other. So this is our homepage for the university. And then if you go back, they all mirror each other. So it's a very consistent flow across everything.
Love it.
Yeah. So that is RIT.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Gianna.
Awesome. Cool. So, I'll jump in now and kind of just talk a little bit about our work at Providence College, working with some of our third-party licenses vendors, specifically with our Learfield team. I'm sure a lot of schools work with Learfield or a sponsorship organization similar. I know, personnel, it can be a little tricky sometimes, especially if you have people on the team that don't always understand your brand, especially when it comes to selling assets and selling, traditions in game. We're really fortunate at Providence College to have an awesome Learfield team that works kind of hand in hand with us, Gianna, like you talked about with your communication for the brand guidelines. Just, before we have a sale, they'll talk to us and say, hey, is this something that's possible? Is this something that's going to positively impact the game experience? Is this something that is, tradition that's set in stone, it might negatively affect the brand if people view it as, a sale. So we have a lot of really thoughtful conversations over the summer just to kind of think about the ways that we can impact all of our games the best we can without looking like too much of a billboard, which I feel like is the balance that everybody always tries to strike with their sponsorship group. So we've had a lot of success with just that open communication and honesty, and working with our partners too. Learfield has brought me into a lot more of their pitches than we have had with the leadership in years past, which I think is always helpful because when you have people from the university in with third-party companies, I think they kind of understand where the university is coming from a little bit. So we're able to kind of keep our best interests at heart while also helping the sponsors, which is awesome. A good example of that is we have a pink out game every year. It benefits Gloria Gemma, which is an organization that's near and dear to Providence College's heart, and it benefits Rhode Island too. We really wanted to keep that charity local, and I'm gonna ask Nick to edit this part out because fought is definitely not the right word, but we really, conveyed that to our Rhode Island medical imaging team that we worked with, that we wanted it to be something that our fans were familiar with, that was something that was kind of synopsis to Providence College. So they were totally understanding of that. And we've been able to this year actually do a lot more fundraising initiatives than we ever have for Gloria Gemma. So, listening to our fans, and working with Learfield again and some of our other third-party vendors to get pink out gear available for sale. We've been able to do that this year for the first time ever. And it's something our fans have been asking us about for years. So that was just a total team effort with Remy, which is Rhode Island medical imaging, and who's our presenting partner, and Coast to Coast, one of our vendors who does all of our promotional items, and then just our Learfield team and myself at Providence College, just making sure that we were able to do a little bit more impact than we ever have before, which I think is an awesome caveat for this game. Yeah. So sorry, that was kind of a lot about our partnership with Learfield, and
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Do you guys have any, questions?
Yeah, so when approaching with a partner initiative like that, you obviously kind of gave us the overview, but what does that look like from the start, with a new initiative you're looking to perhaps get off the ground, or anything to that you could speak to?
Sure. So I'll keep using Pink Out for, actually, I'm going to use a different example. We've been working with the One Love organization since last year, which is an awesome organization. They promote safe dating across college campuses. It's it's a story that's pretty familiar with athletics. It's it's to benefit a former University of Virginia women's lacrosse athlete who tragically passed away from dating violence. So working with our teams, especially our lacrosse team and our women's basketball teams, to kind of really go full force with that initiative. We have members from both teams that are a part of the One Love chapter on campus, and they approached us last year with, how can we kind of blow this out of the water, bring some more awareness to our organization. So, we're working on getting a presenting sponsor for next year to try and see if we can do a little bit more. But last year we were able to kind of, from a first, kicking it off the ground, we worked with Maeve, who's the student liaison that we work with. And we worked with the team to kind of just see what was possible, what the team was interested in doing. And fortunately, our lacrosse team was very receptive of everything that One Love wanted to do. So they paid for shirts for the players to wear. They paid for those warm-up shirts that the players wore that were for One Love were also given away to fans. And we did a moment of kind of awareness where everybody stood with signs as to how they were going to help promote safe dating. So it was a really, really cool way to kind of bring a campus or give more light to a campus organization that students like that our student athletes in particular are involved with, but also just being able to kind of talk to Learfield and say, hey, this is something we're already doing. It's something that we'd like to continue to have traction with. Is this something that a partner is interested in? And just kind of pitching it from there. That's a good example of something that I think we're starting that doesn't have a sponsor. But then for like Pink Out Friartown, for example, something that has been historically sponsored by, it was previously a different healthcare organization. Now it's Rhode Island Medical Imaging. And they're awesome. They're a very ambitious partner. They always want to know what more we can be doing to blow the game out of the water. So those conversations, it's really just kind of, we start by recapping, what went well for the game, what could have gone a little bit better, and then really just what our partners want to see happen is kind of the biggest thing we work off of. And then from there, how does it benefit the team and the atmosphere of the game? So for example, our doctor, Rhode Island Medical Imaging loves to honor their technicians that help with breast cancer research. So bring them out on the court for a game, but also like, okay, how do we not suck the energy out of the game, but make it a good experience for the team and our fans? It's as both of you guys know, it's a lot of moving pieces with scripting games. And just, it's also, I think for us, like I said, we have very ambitious partners that kind of trust us as people in marketing to kind of tell them what they can do. So it's really just kind of coming into those meetings, being prepared with ideas that we want to do. For example, for Pink Out last year, we had a moment where we had light up wristbands and they all lit up pink for Remy during the I stand moment. And it was something that I felt good in theory, but in practice, because we couldn't go full lights down, it just didn't look as great as I think that they were hoping and I was hoping that it would look. So that was something we talked about. Hey, do we want to invest in the bracelets this year? It wasn't something that made a totally big impact, but if it's something you guys want to do, we can. And we were able to do more shirts this year, which everybody loves. Free shirts. So just kind of communicating with our partners has been the biggest thing that we do. And the first place that we start is always like recapping, kind of, if it's a partner that we've worked with before, what did you guys like from last year? What can we do to make it better? And yeah.
No, that's great. I was going to ask a question about that too. You may have kind of touched on it already, but when you're working with separate partners and looking at co-branding opportunities, how does that look from your perspective of, is it usually an event-based one-off? Is it everlasting? Is it kind of year by year? What's the approach? Obviously, it may vary based on partnership.
Yeah, right now it really varies. It's honestly more event-based. I would say like we have a lot of sponsors tied to events or tied to men's basketball game sponsorships and men's hockey. Those are our two like biggest sports that people want to get a piece on. But with our, I don't want to say new Learfield team, they've been with us for probably 3 years at this point. With the leadership that we have with our Learfield team, and like I mentioned, with just us being a little bit more communicative and being able to kind of talk through potential sales opportunities, we're definitely looking into like having our kids club have a presenting sponsor that is a little bit more involved than sponsors that we've had in the past. one thing, we're very, very early in the process, but we do a late night madness kick off the basketball season concert. And we've even been talking with like, how can we work with sponsors in our collective to try and have like an NIL component? If very, very preemptive conversations. But yeah, we're definitely looking to see, other ways that sponsors can kind of own moments or elements. But right now it's definitely been a little bit more event based for us than like long-term things, I guess, if that makes sense.
What do you think is like the biggest benefit of having like Learfield as a partner?
Honestly, I know everybody's Learfield teams kind of vary from where you go. But I think the biggest benefit for us is just Rhode Island's a really, really small state, and relationships are kind of like relationships are everything everywhere, but especially here. Our Learfield team has been in the Rhode Island area for years. They have a ton of great relationships with all of our partners. And our team also came over from the Providence Bruins, which is a little unique, but that's where we play. The AMP is where the Providence Bruins call home too. So they also brought in a totally different kind of set of sponsors when they signed on to Providence, so that they were working with for the Providence Bruins. So I think just they have a lot of like willingness to seek out new sponsors too, which I think is cool. Like we have right now, great problems to have, but right now we have so many sponsors that just want to give shirts out to the students that we literally had to be like, hey, we're doing like too much this year. We have to kind of pump the brakes and make sure that we have stuff for next year, which again, great problems to have. But I think just the communication and the relationships that they bring to the table. And also they're a huge help for us for game days too. Like we have we do giant skee ball for our games, and it's literally giant skee ball. It is a monster to bring on and off the court. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm crazy. But like, even our whole Learfield team like comes out, brings everything out. And I mean, we're technically activating for their partner, but I've never seen, or not never, but I don't know a lot of schools that have that level of like commitment from a game day too from their team. So we love them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like a great partner.
They're great people and great partners too. So it's definitely been a great relationship. And then, like I said, Rhode Island's a really, really small state. We have a lot of local vendors too. And I think that just also kind of helps, when we're looking to kind of do last minute giveaways. We're working with Campus oversees our brand manager, and it's a little, we're kind of working on fine tuning our process right now. So it's a little bit not as clean and concise as yours, Gianna, but it's getting there hopefully. So it's nice to be able to have a local partner that we can kind of call and be like, hey, I know it's super last minute. We know you guys are already approved with everything for the branding. Can you do like 300 shirts for us by tomorrow? And being able to have a relationship with a partner in Cranston, Rhode Island, 20 minutes away that can do that for us is huge. So it's definitely been, in the 2 years that I've been kind of taking over this role, it's definitely been an experience, but I think that we're trying to get better and better with just making things as clear and concise from a branding standpoint. We're working through kind of a logo rebrand right now, and we're still very, very early in the process. But I think the biggest thing that we're thinking about is like what is the goal of the rebrand? Gianna, like to your point, I think just who is it benefiting, and what the tone and making sure that you're capturing your campus's tone and voice is super important.
Yeah, that's very true. When you are on such a large campus, especially, you want to make sure that your tone and voice match, whether it's from athletics to one of the colleges and so on and so forth. It's just making sure it's consistent no matter what logo you use or what spirit mark you decide to use. It's consistent on all levels and whatever department it may be.
Absolutely.
Oh, good points. Would you like me to jump in here?
Yeah, sure.
Right ahead.
All right. Well, thank you both. Gianna, I know you did a great job kind of going over some best practices for brand resources and working with your institutional partners. And Audrey, you touched on some great best practices and shared stories with partnerships on the external level, and with brand ambassadors and such when you're developing those sponsorship partnerships. And I'm going to touch on a little bit of brand implementation and some best practices to think of when putting your brand on your own assets. So starting off with facilities, I really want to take a look at all fan, facility entry points, making sure that, all wayfinding is really clear, that, when somebody arriving who may not be familiar with your facility for the first time is aware of, where they are, and knowing that, that's part of it. And then, looking in that same breath at fan touch points, you want to make sure, your ticket booths, your windows, concession stands, fan services, any sort of historical imagery that you want to get across and touch on, that's all in consideration. That, in these main access ways and lobbies and, different points within each facility, it's covered. Make sure it's clearly visible. Sight lines from fan seating is always important. But then you're also going to want to take a look at, digital signage, whether it be screens around lobbies or various walkways, or as big as video boards, making sure that, your branding is clear, maybe on the board itself, but also on the content on there, such as, promo or intro videos, fan prompts, and even something as simple as transition wipes, making sure it's in there consistently, and is something that we all want to strive for. Other areas on campus, looking at that, central student traffic points, whether it be a student union or, other directional walking paths on campus outside of your athletic facilities. Certainly want to prioritize anything that, bridges athletic facilities as well, depending on how your campus is structured. Looking at different campus partners, whether it be a food court, bookstore, it's important to have branding on those, that can be tied back to athletics, and then within the bookstore, making sure that anything that really is athletic driven, that it's using the proper marks. We all have partners. Gianna referenced that, local Walmart. Make sure you start with your own bookstore too, and make sure they're using the proper marks. That's something that, if going unmonitored, can over time maybe become something that gets out a little out of control. So you want to keep an eye on that. And then also look for any game day activation opportunities. Is there certain branding that comes up on game days to not only, spread the word, of, the athletic department on campus, but really notify fans and students of, what could be happening on any particular date. Outside of, the general checklist there of different opportunities on campus, we also want to be aware of conference partners, member institutions. Make sure that, if you have especially if you have a brand guide that's so intuitive and well done, such as RIT over with Gianna, that we're sharing those brand guidelines, proper logos for both print and digital. Make sure that's, easily accessible. And then we also want, especially this day and age, put consideration to our network partners. That includes all digital and of course linear, but making sure that, whatever broadcast graphic systems being used, for a lot of schools now, especially with something like ESPN Plus, each school's producing their own broadcast. So great, you have control of 50% of the inventory, but the other 50% is being controlled by other schools, whether it be in your conference or even non-conference. So you want to make sure that those assets are up to date with the different various broadcast graphic systems, making sure that, does your primary and secondary logos that they're pulling from an archive have the same capacity to work with different color schemes and different brand bugs. If it's ESPN or is it Fox, every broadcast brand has a different graphics package and bug that utilizes these colors differently. And then you also want to make sure that, same thing with front ends and interstitials, different animations, that you're taking the time to prioritize, making sure that you have the right logo and the logo that you want to see up there. For instance, I know Audrey, your team over at Providence, did a great job of when Hockey East, our conference that we share, joined with ESPN Plus. The logo that they had on file with all these graphic systems was accurate for most sports except hockey. You guys use a special logo for hockey, so your colleagues and my counterparts over there did a great job of making sure that all the schools receive the proper logo to use on their graphics packages, so that whether they're home or away, fans are seeing what they should be. And then, of course, same. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, and I mean, we appreciate it too, and it's less negative feedback we get from everyone that is like, why can't they use the hockey logo? So I think it's just, that communication is a win-win for everybody. I think nobody wants to be using the incorrect logo. I don't think anyone does it intentionally. So That's just a great
Of
example
course.
of how you can share.
And then, I touched on also with facility placement with as far as a fan who's in person attending there and walking through, but think of it with your broadcasts as well. Half our audience may not be at the game now; they may be another state away or watching from afar. So, is your branding clearly visible? Obviously, everybody has that midfield or center court or ice logo there that's clearly visible, but are there dashers for hockey? Is there a baseline logos placed for basketball? Think of secondary camera angles too. Things that are going to have repeatable shots that they go to for games. So over by the bench, a particular beauty shot within reach of a camera or the production. If it's a goal or scoring sport, something that's repeatedly going down there and showing the student athletes performing. We want to make sure that there's that great logo association with those great moments for your team. And then, of course, for your talent, when your talent, they're an extension of your brand, they're representing your institution and your team, of course. So, when they're on camera, do we have a branded backdrop or anything of that like? All these little checkpoints really might seem small, or there's plenty that I did not touch on. But you add them all up, and it's a big part of making sure your brand is visible. And anything that's visible, we want to make sure it's accurate. So it's a good best practice to go through and with your team and see what you can do to get your brand in the best light possible.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit. We currently have a dasher. This is RIT Hockey. That is our older branding, because when we ordered it, it was the other branding wasn't implemented yet. So for the next season, it's like on our docket to make sure we order the correct logo slash branding for that dasher specifically, because that is shown over and over and over again on our Sports Zone network. And it's also in photos and anything that we have sent to us that's on campus. We always make sure it matches all brand guidelines, and we send it to our branding extraordinaire to make sure it's approved before it's printed, and we don't waste any ink or paper.
Sorry, as I muted myself. Sorry. I don't know if you guys are like, I'm sure you both do, but even like we have the Providence Hockey Dashers and we have the ESPN Plus. But when we're like pulling images to promote hockey, we also try and find like the most full arena shots that we can. Just empty seats are like my biggest pet peeve when if we can avoid them as much as we can. I know it's tough sometimes, but we always try and like have our cameras shoot strategically, like where we have our branding and stuff like that.
One
I'm
of
very
my
conscious to that with our productions and making sure that our camera operators are having that in their mind.
One of our biggest games was right before New Year's Eve this year, and I specifically hired a student for that night to shoot photography of how full the arena was. We only had standing room available, so I said, take as many photos as you want, take as long as you want, and send everything to me at the end of the night. And he said, got it. So it's nice to have for future advertising for next season to have those on file. And it also allows the student to build their portfolio, because we're a big photography school, allows him to build his portfolio on top of it. So it's a different type of partnership on campus that you really wouldn't think of.
No, that's a good point.
That's
For those moments where we have those games, or we think we're gonna have those big crowds, we load up on photographers and videographers just for that same point that we have the footage. You just hope the team down on the field, court, or ice does their job.
Yes. Fingers crossed. Leo, I was gonna ask too, I know you mentioned most of the communication with the logos that you mentioned, I guess, was like over email communication. But do you have any examples of, a time where maybe you had to like think outside the box to get your creative or logos changed, or has it always been kind of, as knock on wood, easy as just reaching out to whatever network or poll or whatever organization it may be to change it?
Certainly, no, great question. We're fortunate now, and that we're a few years into these, digital shared partnerships. That each conference, or at least each of our primary conferences with the Patriot League and Hockey East, has done a nice job of developing shared cloud-based platforms, whether it be Dropbox or Google Drive, where these assets are available for all the from a video production standpoint, all the different staff members of various institutions to be able to pull from, so that we know everything's in the right spot, or rather the right logos are available. But when that's not possible, I usually do try to reach out to the school or the appropriate sports info director for a particular team we might be working with, because there are instances where they have a team specific logo and you want to make sure you get that. But worst comes to worst, I also jump on Wikipedia and just grab a PNG. So
Oh, always the answer. Cool.
Yeah.
I think, oh, sorry, G. I didn't mean to cut
Oh,
you off.
I disagree.
I think we had a very similar 2 weeks ago when we first got into the AP poll, not to brag, but when we first got in the AP poll, it was our wrong logo, and our AD called me and was like, can we figure out a way to fix it? And it's always been something that like all last season, nobody really, it was just like, oh, like they just have the wrong logo. It is what it is. Our SID was able to reach out and just ask like a writer that he knew, hey, can you connect us with the right person to change this? We had it changed within like the day. So I think like sometimes people, it seems very daunting, but it is like as simple as just reaching out and being like, hey, this isn't right. Because not everybody knows everybody's like logos and stuff either. That's something like I always have to remind myself.
Yeah, it never hurts to ask, I've learned.
Never.
We're pretty fortunate. Our tiger head has not changed much in the past. However long they've had it, it's been way before. They've had it long before I've been here.
Well, now that you say that, it's gonna change to like a whole new.
The athletics one changed from being 4 colors to 3 colors. There was a lot of gray shading in it, and now they got rid of the gray shading, so it's just orange, black, and white, and it keeps it simpler for us to send to printing partners too.
Say that's nice for t-shirts.
Saves us a lot of money.
Four colors, expensive.
Very expensive. Leo, is there any like issues or hurdles that you've had to overcome with some of these brand partners?
certainly, I mean, we've had again, for example, ESPN or for video production, not everybody's used the same graphic software or hardware, systems that are being used to put these score bugs on each individual's broadcast. So, it's not always as simple as, hey, here, reach out to the school and ask them to fix it. I feel like we've kind of gotten to that point now, but there are times where, we have reached out to the provider of the graphic systems, and our league partners are doing that now too, but making sure that they have the right logos affiliated for each school, and make sure that that's kind of built out, because when that's happening, you're each on an individual basis at a school, you're just downloading a package, and what they have built in is what you're going with. But working with again in ESPN, they have a certain brand they want too. They want certain score bugs to have a variation of all caps, or a combination of capital or lowercase lettering for the school name. So we have to go in, change that to make sure that we're on brand for for our partners too.
Yeah, we always have, to your point, we always have an external game for homecoming off campus. Our venue can't host the amount of people that our downtown ice rink can. We normally average about 9,000 to 10,000 for that game. Our venue is only 4,000. So we work with the local AHL team and their digital and video people to make sure that they have the right tiger head, they have the right opponent logo, that the colors are the right, it might not seem like it, but the colors are the right orange for the scoreboard, and that everything is consistent. So when you come from our venue, our team can literally just plug in their computers and it looks like it's a game in the Policini Center and downtown, just shifted. And it's just making sure those partners within that building can help us out, and they have we provide all the right stuff for them, and they don't have to do a Wikipedia search.
Same thing too. When it comes to those, it's always important that something as simple as, hey, is it for print or is it for digital? Because that's going to change what color scheme we go with, depending on, how your logos are. It might not affect the black and white schools as much, but with an orange and certainly with a red over BU, that's a big deal for us.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. I printed something once and the orange turned out to be a peach color, but luckily it was a physical proof before an actual print.
Good.
But we had to figure out based on the brand portal what color to use and how they can match it correctly for our needs. And it's just really the communication is key with your partners.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have as many issues with the black and white, but our gray, like we had an old ball partner that we worked with for like just autograph balls. The gray would come out like pink every single time. And they were like, oh, it's
Wow.
just like a issue with mixing the paint. And we were like, yeah, no, like we can't give these out to donors and stuff.
Save those for your pink game.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I had a printer send something to me that was completely pink once and it wasn't orange. So it's just really figuring out what the ink levels are. I think it comes down to sometimes.
We've even we play off campus for men's basketball at the Mika Mutual Pavilion, and that video board, the coloring is like a little bit different than our on campus video boards. So like we'll do like for our Halloween graphics, for example, I did them all orange. It looked like bright red at the amp. I was like, oh, great.
No, that'll make a difference for sure.
Yeah. Oh
You gotta
yeah.
make sure those are operating properly or set up properly.
The little things you don't think about until you're staring at a hot red graphic.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have anything else?
I do not.
Nothing here.
No, I think we touched on a lot of great points today.
Yeah, absolutely. This was awesome. And if anybody has any questions on anything that we discussed, we're, available via email. So just shoot us an email if you guys have any other questions. But thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.